Live from WSLS, this is 10 News at 6, working for you.
Now at 6, one person dead after being shot by police on Friday. What led to the shooting and where the investigation stands. Plus, a 2-day crime spree has come to an end. The man authorities say is responsible and how they tracked him down. And get ready to exit light and enter night. The excitement from Hokies as they get ready to host a legendary metal band. And good evening, and thanks for joining us for this special edition of 10 News at 6. I'm Samuel King. A man is dead after he was shot by police in Montgomery County. It started when 911 dispatch received a call around 2 o'clock Friday afternoon about a, quote, suspicious person. Both Christiansburg police and sheriff's deputies responded. That's when they found the man holding a knife before he ran away. We are told they lost the suspect for a short time, but found him near a wooded area. That's when police say that suspect pointed a weapon at a Christiansburg officer, and that's when officers opened fire. The man was pronounced dead at the scene. Virginia State Police are now investigating the situation and are working to identify the man shot. One man is dead and another behind bars after a standoff in Amherst County Thursday night. 69-year-old Thomas Erickson was arrested after that standoff. Investigators say he fired at deputies when they went to do a welfare check at his home along Overlook Drive. He's now facing 3 counts of attempted aggravated murder of a law enforcement officer. The Amherst County Sheriff's Office also identified the person who was found dead inside the home as 58-year-old Brian Lesenring. Investigators say that his body had likely been there a while and his wounds are not self-inflicted. The Amherst County Sheriff says he's grateful his deputies made it home alive, while neighbors are mourning the loss of a friend.
Morning, I felt blessed, and I do today, that we came out of this with no one hurt or no one injured.
Brian was a good person, and unfortunately, he had to lose his life.
Erickson is being held without bond. Investigators say additional charges are pending. An 18-year-old man has been arrested in connection to a 2-day-long crime spree across the city of Salem. Bradley Poff has been charged with multiple serious crimes, including abduction by force and child neglect. Police say Poff was taken into custody and held on an unrelated probation violation, but this comes after a long trail of crimes. It started early Wednesday morning when Poff allegedly stole a car at the Riverland Mobile Home Park and robbed a Cave Spring High School student. And then continued to Lewis Gale Hospital, where he attempted to steal someone's purse. Police say he then stole another car, this time with a 5-year-old inside, later abandoning that child along Intervale Drive and leaving. The child was not hurt. Poff is now being charged with 7 felonies, including child neglect and 2 counts of grand larceny. As of right now, police haven't shared how they determined Poff's connection to the crime spree. Now, these are all developing stories, and we're working for you to learn more. We'll give you updates on air and online at WSLS.com as we get them. An update now to a story we broke for you last weekend. The Lynchburg Fire Marshal's office found a cause for the fire that ended up claiming the life of one elderly woman. They're saying that fire was accidental. Fire marshals say the fire likely started by an electrical malfunction. The victim later identified as 92-year-old Marilyn Gardner. She was wheelchair bound at the time, and sadly, she was pronounced dead at the scene. Well, turning now to your forecast as we enjoy a warm last day of summer. Some of us are also seeing rain, even thunderstorms. Meteorologist Delaney Tharp joins us now. And Delaney, how are things looking for tonight, and how are things looking right now, actually?
Well, Samuel, we do have a few thunderstorm warnings that are in place and a few pop-ups here and there. Although this isn't widespread, definitely something to keep an eye on that we're watching for you over the next couple of hours. Right now, this severe thunderstorm warning is active until 6:30. That is in effect for Buckingham and Amherst. There does have a history of hail with this cell, so again, gusty winds and hail that are possible along with heavy rainfall as these storms pop up throughout the evening hours, and definitely something to keep an eye on. Again, this is in effect until 6:30 this evening. Broadening our view, we're still seeing, again, the coverage of this is very isolated. We still have a few of these thunder boomers that are moving through. This is not very widespread in terms of this system, and this should be wrapped up about 10, 11 o'clock o'clock tonight, we'll start to see as we head into the overnight hours, these storms that will be starting to exit the area. Now, overnight, the one thing we are keeping around, a slight breeze, winds about 2 to 5 miles an hour sustained. We could see gusts up to 10 miles an hour, those gusting winds, and even more so with those thunderstorms that are also producing those stronger wind speeds. I'll have the full details on exactly how long we're going to keep this stormy pattern around in just a bit.
All right, Delaney, thanks very much. Virginia Tech and metal fans get ready to start jumping. A major announcement this week. Metallica is coming to Blacksburg on May 7th. This afternoon, officials with Virginia Tech's athletics department outlined how this big concert came together. It took a lot of discussion and coordination between Tech and Metallica's people to make it happen.
You have to shoot for the moon sometimes, right, and try it and see what happens. And we had a few folks on staff who believed that we could get it done, which is nice. When people believe in a crazy idea that sounds somewhat ridiculous to most, that gives you enough to kind of roll with it.
Now, the contract is still being finalized, but Metallica will get the proceeds from ticket and merchandise sold that night, while Tech will get the proceeds from concessions, parking, and a percentage on tickets. And this is exciting news. There will be a special student section in the north end zone, a lottery for 6,000 tickets at $49 each. And Hokie fans are getting ready to see that band play live at Lane Stadium. 10 News reporter Thomas Mundy went around town to see the excitement firsthand.
This upcoming May, instead of thousands of fans piling into Lane Stadium for a football game, they'll be here for a Metallica concert. For over 20 years, ahead of every home football game, Enter Sandman by Metallica plays in Lane Stadium. And in what seems like a long overdue day, Metallica announced they will be holding a concert in Blacksburg in the exact same stadium Hokie fans jump in every year. I went around Virginia Tech's campus to talk to folks about the news, and everyone is already counting down the days.
I think if I can, I'm totally gonna go. That would be super cool. So
I was like, Metallica's coming here to Blacksburg? Like, you never would have thought they would play somewhere like here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, opportunities are arising.
And no matter who I talked to, they said once Enter Sandman comes on, it will be absolute mayhem. Tickets go on pre-sale September 23rd. And for all the information on how you can get a ticket to the big concert, head on over to WSLS.com. Here in Blacksburg, I'm Thomas Mundy, 10 News, working for you.
Thanks a lot, Thomas. And coming up, early voting started this week in Virginia. Find out how you can make your voice heard and cast your ballot ahead of Election Day. Hundreds of people headed to the Berglund Center in Roanoke for the 4th Prepare-a-thon to learn how to stay safe during natural disasters and emergencies. This event is part of a nationwide initiative supported by FEMA, aimed at empowering our community with essential knowledge and resources to be ready for any emergency.
Absolutely. So September is National Preparedness Month, but it's also hurricane season. And so something that we try to tie in is also flooding. And so that can come within this time of year. And it's something that we want all people in Roanoke and the Roanoke Valley area to be prepared for.
There were also hands-on activities designed to boost confidence in disaster preparedness. Early voting in Virginia started on Friday, and depending on where you live, you'll be voting for much more than just the next president. City council seats, mayoral races, even congressional races are on the ballot. Roanoke City Registrar says a lot of people don't realize that they don't need an excuse to vote early.
So now having this expanded early voting, we can kind of lighten the load a little bit and get some people through ahead of time.
Now, there are a few other key dates to remember. The deadline for voter registration or making changes to an existing registration is October 15th. And the deadline to apply for an absentee by mail ballot is 1 week later on the 25th. Authorities are considering putting new restrictions in place for hunting dogs. Why that's happening and what it could mean for hunters. And here's a live look from our Ferrum Caller Skycam. Conditions look beautiful there, but there are some storms in some parts of our region. Coming up at 10 News at 6, Delaney will have another check of current conditions and your forecast. From recent outbreaks in parts of the Commonwealth, parvo in puppies and dogs has been running rampant. Parvo is not a virus that's pleasant to hear about, especially if you're eating. It attacks dogs and essentially destroys their digestive tract. It's spread through feces. Once infected, dog may experience vomiting and blood in their stool. If it goes untreated, it can ultimately become fatal. According to Christy Chips Peters with Richmond's Animal Care and Control, this latest strain of the virus is proving to be extremely dangerous.
I've had a few die that we didn't think were going to pass away and were sort of an immediate. You know, we were treating them and we thought everything was fine, and then they just died. Like there was no rhyme or reason to it.
To prevent this, keep your dog up to date with parvo vaccines and keep them away from other pups if they don't have their vaccines.
The 10 News Weather Authority, always watching and tracking for you from the JES Weather Center.
Good evening, my friends. We have a few stronger storms that are now moving through the area. Severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for Amherst and Appomattox until 6:30 this evening. Now, there is a history of hail with this cell. It could be up to $1/2 size, and this storm is also capable of producing wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. So do be again prepared as this does head into your region. Again, this is in effect until 6:30. Appomattox and Amherst included with this, with that history of hail, and that is a possibility as the storm does move into a continuous favorable environment. We have had a lot of heat and a lot of humidity, and along with that, all of that fuel for those stronger storms. Now, this is the only severe warn cell at this time. This thunder boomer over Lynchburg right now, there was a special weather statement that was issued for that cell. And that cell is in particular possible of producing winds gusts that were up to 40 miles an hour and hail as well. So do again be prepared as this does head into your area. Special weather statement that basically means that does not meet the warning parameters that are set by the National Weather Service, but it is still considered to be a stronger storm. So again, as we head into the next few hours, we are still seeing a very favorable environment for these severe storms. The possibility of just this wind damage as well as damaging hail, that is a possibility. Thunderstorm, rather that tornado risk, that is very, very low. Not expected to see any of those this evening. We are still in that marginal risk. That is a 1 out of 5 on the SPC's rating scale. So we are continuing to keep an eye out for these storms and for the next few hours as we head into the evening. This is the setup that has provided us with that very favorable environment. So we have had a lot of moisture, and this is still being moved into our atmosphere, into that upper level system, that jet stream. They're still seeing that pattern, bringing in a lot of moisture, and we've had a lot of heat. And again, that humidity, those humidity values have been increased throughout the day today. Seems like summer's last stand. That is the last day. We begin fall tomorrow, and we're trying to see some cooler temperatures and a little bit of a dip in humidity, but today not the case. Our dew points right now still in the 60s and 70s, 68-degree dew point in Roanoke, 70 right now in Rocky Mountain, 71 in Bedford. This is why we have had a lot of fuel for those storms even the past few hours. Now, hour by hour, as we head into the overnight hours, we'll start to see our temperatures moving into the mid-60s, not necessarily seeing a lot of those 50s. Again, that is because of the amount of humidity still hanging out into the area. We're not going to be seeing their temperatures cooling down quite as much. Futurecast this evening, those storms out of our hair by 10 to 11 o'clock. Tomorrow morning will stay dry with a few clouds here and there, but besides that, we are staying mostly dry for your Sunday. Can't rule out a very isolated shower or two, but I do think that most of us will be quite dry. 7-day forecast, 85 degrees your high temperature, ironically enough, for the first day of fall tomorrow. But starting next work week, our high temperatures are once again back into the 70s. We're finally starting to see things a little bit more seasonable, but Samuel, the rain is on the way next week, a pretty prolonged pattern.
I saw a lot of people on the way in trying to get in that cutting their lawns this weekend before that next batch of rain comes in.
Yes, we have a very small window on Sunday.
All right, but
yes.
very warm tomorrow, but then more rain and fall weather, I guess.
Exactly.
It's upon us.
Temperatures take a little bit of a tumble.
And pretty soon the leaves will change and all that stuff.
Pumpkin season's ahead.
Oh boy. All right, Delaney, thanks very much.
Of course.
Coming up on 10 News at 11, a local community saying goodbye to a Korean War veteran, Frank Kingery, how he inspired fellow veterans and worked to ensure that the Korean War is never forgotten. That's coming up at 11. Stay with us at 6. We'll be right back after the break. If you're looking to get outside this weekend, consider going to the Lehman Farms Fall Festival in Blue Ridge. It kicked off this weekend, and you can do things like this. Well, that looks like fun. A 250-foot slide is just one of 2 new attractions the farm is adding this year. The other is a paintball shooting gallery. And the other activities are gemstone mining, a corn maze, hay wagon rides, a jumping pillow, and so much more.
I think people just keep coming back because it's tradition. We have people come from all over the state, from different states, and they've been doing it because it's something that they did when they were kids, and they just want to keep the tradition going.
The festival continues tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Tickets are $18 online and $20 at the door. Kids 2 and under are free. The Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources is considering multiple requests to increase hound hunting regulations. It's an ongoing fight between hunters and property owners who say the hounds are disruptive. Chantel Davis has more.
The Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources managing a big request to increase hound hunting regulations, something local farmer Jim Medeiros is hoping they'll vote in favor of.
Presently, the way the law is and the way the regulations are, there's nothing that can prevent or stops hunting dogs from coming into my pastures, disturbing my cattle, disturbing my poultry.
Medeiros says he's endured hunting dogs running through his property, seriously hurting his livestock.
We've had poultry be killed. We've had many instances where cattle have stampeded and run off. I had a calf that ended up with a broken leg.
According to Virginia law, any person who intentionally releases hunting dogs on the lands of another without consent of the landowner is guilty of a Class 3 misdemeanor. However, the fact that hunting dogs are present on another's land is not enough to prove that the hunter intended to do so. This is why members of the Property Alliance presented 2 proposals. One of them asked DWR to require hunters to make reasonable efforts to prevent their dogs from entering a landowner's private property. And the other requires hunters to place GPS tracking collars on their dogs. But those with the Virginia Hunting Alliance says those regulations are not reasonable.
Collars for 4 dogs and the receiver and the antennas required is approximately $2,000. It'll be a dramatic discouragement to future hunters.
Kirby Birch tells me if these regulations pass, it would be a major strain on hound hunters.
Well, I think it would be a dramatic decrease in the number of hunters.
But those pushing for these proposals believe the regulation is a happy medium for both sides.
There is no legitimate hunting opportunity that will be lost because of these regulations. This is not a place for hunting dogs.
Chantel Davis reporting there. Well, it was a big day for many football fans as teams went all out to compete all across the Commonwealth and beyond. Our first game of the day was a big upset down in Chapel Hill as the JMU Dukes walloped the North Carolina Tar Heels 70-50. Dukes scored 53 points in the first half. Back here in the Commonwealth, we go to Lexington, where the VMI Cadets took on Norfolk State. The Spartans ended up winning that game over VMI 32-10. Now down to South Carolina and Coastal Carolina. They hosted the Cavaliers of UVA, and that game ended with the Cavaliers prevailing 43-24-17. Well, Cavs won in any event. Finally, Virginia Tech Hokies are taking on Rutgers in Blacksburg. That game's still going on. At last check, the game just entered the 4th quarter, and Virginia Tech just scored, but Rutgers is still ahead 23-15. We'll see if the Hokies can pull it out when you join us for 10 News at 11. That's 10 News at 6 for tonight. We'll see you later on after football.